Anna has asked me, I understand she's been very active asking people to give presentations here today, and she asked me as well. I was so overwhelmed, I was so proud that she did, that I didn't really listen to what she asked me to do. I just heard she asked for input from the fishing industry. So that's the presentation I made. Later I saw the title of my presentation, and that's not exactly what it's about. But anyway, I put it there. This is different. This is, well, I won't say that we have listened to lectures up to now, but we have listened to people that could explain things. I can't explain anything. I can give you a bit of advice, maybe, in the process that follows this, because I think the MYFISH project, I guess, is about operationalizing MSY. And when we do that, it could be of importance to know what will the fishing industry expect or demand or ask for at a later stage. And maybe that even has a bearing on the definition of MSY. So hopefully this can be of help to you. Who am I? I am president of the Danish Pelagic Producer Organization. That is an association of fishing vessels in Denmark. We have 7 vessels. Last year they caught about 250,000 tons of fish. So it's quite a lot of fish. That is my day job. In my spare time, I chair Working Group 1 of the Pelagic RAC. I assume you are familiar with RACs, these advisory bodies of the EU system. Working Group 1 deals with herring and mackerel, so I chair that one. By training, I am an economist. I am not a scientist, which you will know very quickly. I have spent so much time, though, in the ISIS system that I know that I'm in sharing this room with one of the half-gods of biology. Pelagics, my background is pelagics. I've been in pelagics for more than 25 years, so that's all I know anything about actually. It's single species fishery. We don't have bycatches. We are fortunate that we have stocks in healthy conditions, which means that we are talking about long-term management plans. We are not talking about rebuilding plans. I don't think we've had one. And we live with tax and quotas, and we're happy about it, and we're extremely happy that we do not have effort regulations. I attended the ISIS workshop that was set down to formulate the ISIS MSY framework. And as a non-biologist, I loved it. It was a very simple approach. I could understand it. I felt that at least, that you could, FMSY is basically that you can take a certain fraction of a stock every year. And that fraction, if you do it over a long time, then it becomes the FMSY. Understand correctly that I think we have heard so many explanations today as to or definitions as to what it is, so I think you will understand what I mean. FMSY is the fraction of a stock you can take in the long term, and the stock will stay at a sustainable level. And I don't care what level that is. I think it is important that we stick with the simple approach and go with nature and take a fraction of whatever is there. That we don't try and control or manage nature by saying the stock should have a certain size. So I'm already telling you whether it should be F or biomass that we should look for. I also understand that below a certain level we may have to reduce the F to reduce the risk of impaired recruitment. I can accept that. That sounds logical to me. Maybe though we should add something here because, well, we have a problem with particularly herring in the North Sea at the moment, where there seems to be a density-dependent effect, a negative one. You would also say that if a stock grows too big, then what happens to the ecosystem? What will happen? I mean, if the read is right and we have what was it, 6 billion tons of cod, what will happen to the rest? Is it really possible? So maybe we should, above a certain level, increase the F value so that we help the stock to come down to a certain sensible level. Another question that is often asked, and a discussion that we have in the pelagic rack, is whether this FMSY, which we go for, is it a target or is it a limit? And there are some voices in the rack that says it should be a limit. I think from the fishing industry, we are in consensus it's a target. There are uncertainties in the stock assessment, there are errors in the implementation, there are a number of factors that mean that even if we target a certain F, then we will most certainly not hit it, we will be above or below. But if we want to have to reach the FMSY, a certain target, over a long range of years, then we will sometimes be above and sometimes be below, but if we want to do it on average, we'll have to go for the target. If we target below FMSY, then we most certainly, over the long span of years, will end up below the target. And why should we? So the advice from me, from the fishing industry, is use it as a target. There are other considerations that should be put in, should be taken when we establish how to implement the MSY. It all comes into the long-term management plan, and on one hand, we want a high yield. On the other hand, we want the stable yield. Pamela Mays showed the trade-off between these two, that if you want stability, you have to give up on the high yield, and if you want the high yield, then you won't have the stability. But we would like to have both, and we know that it's a trade-off, but we want, well, that is why it's important that we are there when the trade-off is made. Which brings me to one of the key points, that when you develop a long-term management plan that includes the MSY, it should be done in a collaborative, iterative process between scientists, managers, and stakeholders. And it's very important to note that it should include all relevant managers and stakeholders. I emphasize this because the stocks that we exploit are jointly managed stocks between EU and other coastal states, Norway, Iceland, Faroes, Russia. And we have seen a number of examples where we have done a brilliant job in EU with the RACs, the Commission, and then it is shut down by Norway because they don't see the brilliance of what we have done. So it is much better that everybody is at the table from the beginning. This is not exactly the process that Anna talked about in her presentation, where she said scientists and stakeholders should go together in MYFISH and give a result to managers, and then they could take it from there. I do not agree. We should be there, all of us, but it's an iterative process, so we should come back and forth. We should let the scientists work, come back with iterations and simulations, and then we should have a new discussions, and then we should discuss the trade-offs. But we should be there every time. So it's probably a very long process, but it's important we're all there. Some 4 years ago, I made a presentation together with Auke Kors, the General Secretary of the Pelagic RAC, where we went through a number of the long-term management plans that we had been involved in. They are listed on the left side. You don't have to go through this. It's just to show you that we try to put numbers or on the criteria that we used to say whether the process had worked or not. It wasn't whether the management plan where it ended. That was not in itself important. It was the process. And what was what failed almost every time was that not all relevant managers or all relevant industry was present. Only in the first blue whiting that was initiated by industry did everybody take part in. So, but just to say again, everybody should be there from day one. So my conclusion is that the process should be collaborative and iterative. The process should include all relevant scientists, managers, and stakeholders. The harvest control rule should be based on FMSY, not stock sizes, and it should be a target. Objectives in the long-term management plan should include high yield and stable yield. A long-term management plan should include a stabilizing mechanism, and the long-term management plan should include a revision clause and an escape clause, because sometimes nature changes. We've seen that, and it should be possible to step outside the management plan. The final thing is, please don't make it too complicated. Scientists they know more and more, and they try to, unfortunately, to make things more complicated. This is an example. You probably can't see very much, but this shows the catches of a stock in the North Sea. It was unregulated in the first many years. This just goes back to '83. It's been exploited since the 50s. But you'll see that catches were in the range from 600,000 tons up to 1.2 million tons until 2003, when scientists said we need to regulate this, otherwise the stock will collapse. Later, in what was it, 6 or 7, scientists said, oh, now we know much more about this, and we are so scared of local depletion. So we need to have 7 different areas and regulate each area by itself, which is why there are different colors here. It shows the catches from each of the 7 areas. And the bottom one, the red one, is area 1, and the lowest number of all is in 2005. The catches are 100,000 tons, where I think everybody agrees that there could have been caught more. Now, in 2012, the scientists tell us that we can catch 23,000 tons, otherwise the stock will collapse. Don't complicate things. I mean, use your knowledge, your increased knowledge about the stocks to smoothen things out. It doesn't help. It doesn't improve your image in the fishing industry when things like this happen. So let's hope. Well, we are working on this at the moment, and hopefully there will be revised advice later this year. But don't complicate things unnecessarily. Thank you.